In the early 16th century, a woman would rise from obscurity to become one of the most famous and controversial figures in English history. Her name was Anne Boleyn, and her life story is filled with intrigue, ambition, and tragedy. Join me as we delve into the historical journey of Anne Boleyn, a woman who would ultimately change the course of history. Anne Boleyn's exact birth year remains a mystery, with some suggesting 1501, while others lean towards 1507. I'm in the 1501 camp myself, but that's neither here nor there. However, historical evidence indicates that she could not have been more than 6 years old when she entered the service of Margaret of Austria in 1513, making, in my opinion, 1501 a more likely birth year.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
According to Lord Herbert of Shrewsbury, 17th century biographer of King Henry VIII, based on now lost contemporary sources, Anne returned from France in 1522, at the age of 20, which again is more evidence towards Anne being born in 1501 rather than 1507. Anne was one of 4 surviving children to be born to her parents, Thomas Boleyn and Elizabeth Howard. It is believed that Elizabeth Howard had a pregnancy every year after her and Thomas were wed, and that her last pregnancy was in 1505.
And got busy! Oh, this is just too good!
Of those children, we know the names of Mary, Thomas, Anne, George, and a 5th child named Henry, whose resting place is marked by a small brass adjacent to his father's tomb in Hever church, so it is likely he died young. The Boleyn family roots in Norfolk traced back to the 12th century. The Boleyn children spent their early years at Blickling Hall in Norfolk, but held great significance in their upbringing. Here they learned about their family status, took their first steps, and received their first lessons. The Boleyn family name, which has had a variety of spellings, was adorned with a bull's head on their coats of arms, which was a clever play on words. It is believed that Anne may have been named after Saint Anne and was born around that saint's day on the 26th of July, or one of her many Annes in her family.
Real original.
Perhaps her aunt by marriage, Princess Anne of York, who had married her maternal uncle Thomas Howard, Earl of Surrey, in February 1495. The surviving Boleyn children's date of births cannot be confirmed, but historians do have an idea, and as such we can't confirm the order that the siblings were born. However, it is thought that it goes Mary, Thomas, Henry, Anne, and George. Either way, Thomas Boleyn and Elizabeth Howard were married prior to 1500. Potentially 1498, if not even earlier, as it is believed that Mary was born in around 1499, although her estimated birth range can go from 1496 to 1501. The family probably relocated from Blickling Hall to Hever Castle around 1505. At the very least, they had left by February 1506. During the Real Story of Anne Boleyn documentary presented by Susanna Lipscomb, Dr. Owen Emerson states that he believed that Mary and Anne Boleyn shared a lot in common, and that they had a close and meaningful relationship, and that they were each other's equals. He said that they liked pushing each other's boundaries. Owen stated that he believed that the Boleyn children were thick as thieves, which I can easily see being as true, the way that they all rallied round Anne during her rise, and how when she fell, George and her parents pretty much went with her. But I don't know if I can submit to the idea of Anne and Mary being close. From all that I have read, the two sisters didn't really seem to be that bothered with each other. But I could be wrong. I wasn't there. Thomas Boleyn's career at the royal court began in 1509 when he was appointed Esquire of the Body to King Henry VII. Elizabeth Howard, their mother, played a pivotal role in their upbringing, as Thomas was often away due to his court duties. The Boleyn children received a well-rounded education, including fluency in multiple languages. As an adult, Anne's intellect, wit and skill was much commented on. She grew up to be a talented and accomplished singer and dancer, a good poet, a skilled needlewoman, a witty conversationalist, and a trendsetter in fashion. She also loved gambling, although maybe not so much as a child, playing cards, drinking wine, hunting, playing bowls, and while she was at the French court, it was noted that she shone at singing, dancing, and making music. It should also be noted that Anne was very pious, as can be seen from her Book of Hours, and the comments that she left in that. Let me know in the comments if you want a video going in depth on her book. Anne was not the only person to have a copy of this book, as Catherine of Aragon and Thomas Cromwell also had the same book. This education served Thomas Boleyn well in his role as a foreign diplomat and allowed him to maintain a far-reaching network of contacts. Thomas's ambition was clear. He aimed to secure advantageous noble matches for his children, potentially even a place in the household of Queen Catherine of Aragon. Elizabeth Howard, equally well educated, supported these aspirations. On May 11th, 1509, Thomas Boleyn performed his last duty for King Henry VII, serving at his funeral. Little did he know that his daughter Anne would go on to capture the heart of King Henry VIII, changing the course of history forever. In 1511, Anne's father, Thomas Boleyn, gained prominence in King Henry VIII's inner circle. He was sent on a diplomatic mission to secure the Holy Roman Emperor's support. Thomas charmed Margaret of Austria, the Emperor's daughter. Recognising an opportunity, he boasted to Margaret of the virtues and accomplishments of Le Petit Boulon and proposed that Anne join Margaret's court as a lady-in-waiting. Margaret agreed, and Anne became one of her 18 filles d'honneur, or ladies-in-waiting. It was around 1512, although I have seen spring 1513, that Anne was sent to Mechlin to serve at the court of Margaret of Austria. Margaret expressed her appreciation, noting Anne's impressive demeanour and charm despite her youth, stating, "So presentable and so pleasant, considering her youthful age, that I am more beholden to you for sending her to me than you to me." Alison Weir suggests that Anne's purpose in this arrangement was to enhance her proficiency in French, as indicated by a letter she penned to her father during this period. Margaret gave Anne a governess, Simonette, to improve her French and insisted that all of her letters to her father be written in French.
Let's try it one syllable at a time. Okay, so repeat after me. Je m'appelle. Great. Okay, faster. Je m'appelle. Je m'appelle.
Me poo-poo.
It's too hard. I can't teach you.
In 1513, young Anne Boleyn was in Tournai, now in modern-day Belgium. Here she witnessed a significant moment when the city presented Margaret of Austria with tapestries depicting scenes from the Book of the City of Ladies. In Margaret's court, Anne became acquainted with Christine de Pisan's works, which promoted female literacy and the empowerment of women. Pisan boldly challenged gender norms and advocated for female education. Her works questioned a woman's unhappy marriage and that men who didn't want women educated were men that were worried that the women would be smarter than them. Just as women's bodies are softer than men's, so their understanding is sharper. If it were customary to send girls to school and teach them the same subjects as are taught to boys, they would learn just as fully and would understand the subtleties of all arts and sciences. Anne spent 18 months in Margaret of Austria's court, where her father, Thomas Boleyn, arranged for her to be educated. However, her elder sister Mary embarked on a different path, sailing to France with Mary Tudor, future Queen of France, in October 1514. Despite being the younger Boleyn daughter, Anne would be given a place at court before her older sister Mary. Many have used this as evidence that actually Anne was the older of the two, not Mary. It is possible that as Mary was more accomplished at French, Thomas took the opportunity to send Anne abroad to improve her French, And what a better place than the court of Margaret of Austria, which was seen as one of the finest finishing schools in Europe. It may also rather harshly be that Thomas maybe saw more potential in Anne's intellectual abilities than Mary, and that it would be more beneficial for his youngest daughter. We have a letter written by Anne to her father while she was in Brussels, which demonstrates her struggle in grasping the French language. Unfortunately, it is undated, so we don't know exactly when this was written. However, this letter is also significant as it has been used to support the theory that Anne was born in 1501 instead of 1507, based on the handwriting. She wrote, "Sir, I understand by your letter that you desire that I shall be a worthy woman when I come into court, and you inform me that the Queen will take the trouble to converse with me, which rejoices me much to think of talking with a person so wise and worthy. This will make me have greater desire to continue to speak French well and also spell, especially because you have enjoined it in me. And with my own hand I inform you that I will observe it the best I can. Sir, I beg you to excuse if my letter is badly written, for I assure you that the orthography is my own understanding alone, while the others were only written by my hand, and Simonette tells me the letter but waits so that I may do it myself. Written at Weir by your very humble and very obedient daughter, Anna de Boleyn." It is also important to note that the Queen that Anne refers to in the letter is most likely Mary Tudor, for reasons I'll explain later. In the summer of 1514, Anne's sister Mary had been summoned to the English court to attend the 18-year-old Princess Mary Tudor as she travels to France to wed King Louis XII of France. Mary Tudor's marriage to King Louis XII of France was proposed by Thomas Wolsey as part of a political alliance. This match would then allow King Henry VIII to have a say in French politics. Mary was horrified at the match and made her brother promise that if she did this, she could choose her next marriage. Louis XII was 52 and sickly, while Mary was 18, so a second marriage for her was pretty likely. Henry VIII agreed to his sister's demands, with his fingers crossed behind his back, obviously. Savvy Thomas Boleyn saw a major opportunity for his two daughters, Mary and Anne. Anne at this point had greatly improved her French, and Mary's French was better than Anne's, well, as a child anyway. Mary's place was secured, but Anne was already in the service of Margaret of Austria. However, the Princess Mary had specifically asked for Anne Boleyn.
This is awkward.
Mary and King Louis were wed by proxy at Greenwich on the 13th of August 1514. The next day, Thomas Boleyn wrote to Margaret explaining the situation. Thomas penned a tactful request to Archduchess Margaret of Austria. He sought permission for his daughter Anne to return to England, accompanied by his emissaries. In this letter that was composed at Greenwich, to which he said, "To this request I could not, nor did I know how to refuse." The Princess Mary was deciding her entourage for France, and among her desired attendants was none other than Anne Boleyn. The Queen referred to in Anne's letter was Mary Tudor herself, now boasting a royal title after her proxy wedding. Intriguingly, the historical records contain references to an M. Boleyn among the privileged young ladies chosen to accompany Mary Tudor to France. This mysterious initial has spurred debate among historians. Was it Mary Boleyn? Or possibly Mistress or Mademoiselle? The puzzle deepens as we delve into a list of Queen Mary's ladies who were compensated for their service between October and December 1514. Here we find the name Marie Boleyn, which could be a reference to Mary Boleyn. Actually, I'm almost certain it's Mary Boleyn. However, Anne's name is conspicuously absent from this list, raising questions about her whereabouts during this period. Both Anne and Mary Boleyn were destined for France, yet Anne is curiously absent from the list of English attendants who embarked on that journey with Mary Tudor from England. This raises the possibility that Anne might have taken a different route, perhaps travelling directly from Brussels. Mary's Tudor and Boleyn set sail to France on the 2nd of October 1514. On the 9th of October 1514, Princess Mary Tudor and King Louis XII of France were united in marriage at Abbeville. It was a momentous occasion, marked by opulence and grandeur. However, there was a notable absence. Where was Anne Boleyn? Historians have long wondered why Anne was not present at the wedding. The timeline suggests that there should have been enough time for Anne to return home and accompany Mary to France. Yet she did not. So what could have kept her away? One possible explanation lies in the complex world of European politics. It is believed that the Archduchess Margaret of Austria, a powerful figure in Europe at the time, may have played a role in Anne's absence. Margaret was reportedly displeased with King Henry VIII for breaking the betrothal between her nephew, Archduke Charles, and Henry's own daughter, Princess Mary. This breach of promise might have led Margaret to create difficulties for Anne's departure, effectively delaying her journey to France. Anne's absence from the pay records for the period between October and December 1514 further adds to the mystery. It is suggested that Anne arrived in France in early 1515, but pay records for the following quarter no longer survive. Delays caused by winter weather and Anne's need for a new wardrobe given her growth could have also contributed to this timing. Meanwhile, Mary Boleyn, Anne's sister, had a role to play in the grand wedding ceremony of Mary Tudor and King Louis XII. She was among the 4 chamberers whose duties included serving the Queen in the privacy of her chamber, performing tasks considered beneath the dignity of the ladies-in-waiting. Both Marys, Tudor and Boleyn, awoke an hour before dawn to prepare for the wedding. Being that it was October, it was chilly, and many wore fur-lined robes of cloth of gold, velvet, damask and silk. After the bridal procession had formed in the Queen's apartments, Anne's sister Mary and 12 other women took their place behind the new Queen of France, while being escorted by a gentleman as they followed their mistress across the gardens to the great hall of the Hotel Gruthus, where the ceremony took place, which was hung with gold. The fanfare blared as Mary Tudor, resplendent in gold brocade and jewels, entered. She was married to the antique and feeble Louis XII by the Cardinal Bishop of Bayeux. Tradition has it that a tapestry dating from around 1525 or earlier depicts the wedding ceremony. It is said that Mary and Anne Boleyn are among the female attendants portrayed in the tapestry, although their identities cannot be confirmed. Some have even suggested that a figure in a red gown might represent Anne. However, as we've already discussed, Anne wasn't at the wedding. The Dauphin Francois, whose ambitions were threatened by this royal union, went to great lengths to ensure that the marriage would not bear fruit. Although, if I'm being completely honest, mate, I don't think you've got anything to worry about. He even ordered someone to spy on the newlywed couple in their marriage bed.
What?
To his relief, the report came back stating that it was not possible for the king and the queen to beget children. Anne, who after the wedding was now in France, took her place in Mary's household along with her sister, Mary. On the 1st of January 1515, King Louis XII of France died during a fit of vomiting amidst a violent storm.
Gross.
The news of his death was met with a poignant scene. It is said that Queen Mary Tudor, upon hearing the news, fainted. Following this unfortunate event, a series of customary protocols and significant changes took place. In keeping with tradition, Queen Mary Tudor was required to don the traditional nun-like white mourning attire known as devil blanc, worn by French royal widows. Her subsequent days were spent in seclusion within sombre, black-draped apartments at the Hotel de Cluny. This seclusion was expected to last for the prescribed 40 days of mourning, during which she was closely watched. following orders from Louise of Savoy. The purpose of this vigil was to ensure that she was not expecting her late husband's child.
I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.
Once Queen Mary emerged from her 40-day seclusion, she displayed her resilience by defying King Francois. She began to receive visitors and resumed her role in managing her household. Notably, she dismissed her French ladies-in-waiting and called upon her English attendants to rejoin her service. The Boleyn sisters, along with their fellow attendants, were asked to step aside while Queen Mary conducted private audiences, most notably with the Duke of Suffolk. In the wake of these significant events, the Boleyn sisters' lives continued to be intertwined with the French court, thanks in part to their proficient command of the French language. Their association with Francis and Queen Claude ensured their continued presence even after Queen Mary Tudor's departure. Anne and Mary Boleyn's journey to the courts of France was far from over, and their story would soon take them back to English court in the unfolding chapters of their lives. In the next video, we're going to be exploring a bit more of Anne's time at the French court, including the Field of the Cloth of Gold. So make sure you have your notifications turned on, ready for that video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hey, maybe even share this video with a friend. And if you really loved this video, then why not give a super thanks? But until the next one, guys, as always, have a wonderful day.